is your first time to this show. Have you ever heard of us?
I listen every morning.
Hey, who is older? To clarify, who's older? You or Chris?
Yeah, Chris is older. He's that 3 minutes really counts for a lot. So he's reminded me of it for most of my life.
Swanee, do you think this is I think this is amazing. Much like I used to look at the War brothers, how a family could produce two players who play for the Australian cricket team. This family has produced two boys who played, at the premierships and now coach. That is amazing, mate.
It is astounding. I was thinking about you two the other day when I was making scones.
I don't know where to start.
I was making scones.
Why? Why
Well,
are you thinking about it?
my gran taught me how to make scones. She made the best scones. And the key to make great scones is to pack them close together when you put them on the tray. And then they help each other rise. And as I was stacking them, not a word of a lie, I thought of you and your brother. And I thought maybe that whole twin thing was like the scone factor. That you were always together and that you were just constantly subconsciously or unconsciously or consciously competing with each other to rise.
Well, I think there's a fair bit in there. I think the War Boys have talked about it, not necessarily with the scone reference, but...
well, no, you only get that from me. That's my unique brand of Lady Madness.
I'm pretty sure Robbo did that last night on 360, so that's a bit awkward. You'd probably credit him for that theory, Swanee. But
there's no doubt that twins, you grow up with someone obviously very similar to you, so you've always got something to do. In fact, my mum had to move us out of our house where we first were because Chris and I would help each other over the pool fence. So 2.5 years old, and you give each other a boost over the pool fence. So Mum said, that's it, we've got to move, and no pool, but always someone to play with, always someone to kick the footy with, and hopefully that, I think that probably made some sort of difference to us going a bit further in sport.
Yeah, very tough, these two as well. Brad and Chris were out. They were always, whenever there was a scrap, Swanee, these two were always in it. Don't you worry about that. And I still remember, do you remember the no rules game in 2002 when Kevin Sheedy came out during the week? We played Essendon, Brisbane played Essendon, and said, there's going to be no rules this week, it's going to be on. And all I remember was James Hird, who used to play on all the time, and you did some great jobs in James Hird, coming back from a fractured skull, first game back, I believe. And James Hird running down his position, and you suplexed him, you lifted him up off the ground and body slammed him into the ground before the game started. Is that what? Is it? So
after that horrendous injury to his face.
That's a really interesting rewrite of history, Browny, I reckon.
He's famous for that.
It was during the game, and
there you go. It was during the game.
Important detail.
Your times are out, big
changes
fella.
nothing. It changes nothing.
And it wasn't enjoyable playing on Hurdy because he was obviously a gun footballer, but he kicked a goal in that game, and I thought, this is going to be a long day. But he turned around and ran straight at me, and I thought, well, gee, I'm going to have trouble if this is going to be a battle of skill. But if he wants to fight me, I'm happy to go down that path.
Brad, what was we ask this all the time, but because we've had a couple of people come in here that Chris, we wanted Chrissie to meet. Martin Pike has stood, your ex-premiership teammate Pikey has stood there. Oh, you can't believe it. Brad just gave a look of, you had Pikey on Nova.
Yeah.
That's what you...
That was the look, it was wide-eyed.
I think twice. Someone's got a segment. Twice, yeah. Anyway, mate, what was Brownie like? Because he was a 19-year-old, you were already there. So what were your first impressions of a young Jonathan Brown, or as he was called in his first game, Big Jeff Brown? Sandy Roberts called him Jeff Brown.
First game, I was so infamous I didn't get a touch, and Sandy Roberts called me Jeff Brown.
Disappointing outcome for Big Jeff Brown.
It's rubbing salt into the wound, isn't it? Jeffy, how do we not run with that for a while?
Big Jeff Brown. Stick.
Yeah, but no, he's pretty confident, Brownie. We knew from day one that he was going to be a good player. Someone so big and so strong and could run so well and do everything so well. So we were really fortunate because we got him as a father-son. So that was back when the rule was your father only had to play 50 games for the club.
Yes.
So if it was under the current rules, Browny wouldn't have played for us. We wouldn't have won any premierships. And
is it true that
he
was basically chosen for the Lions when he was 4 years old?
Yes,
essentially.
They started paying me when I was 10.
Have you ever known anybody with a more unshakable sense of self-esteem than one?
You
Jonathan
played with
Brown?
a lot of them back then, mate.
Well, you had Pikey, and he was pretty good. He had a pretty good.
He was the best at it, wasn't he?
Level of self-esteem, but no, they all were. They were really confident, even the guys who didn't appear to be really confident. I mean, our mate Nigel Lappin was a really humble sort of guy, but he was still had great confidence in his own ability. And when Lee Matthews came up, he really sort of brought all that out in the group, and it was a confident group to begin with, but he made us believe in ourselves even more. So, and the rest was history after that.
Talking about coaching, mate, so you're premiership champion, you played all the games that you played. What is a harder thing to do, though? Is playing or coaching at the highest level?
Well, when I first started coaching, I said to the players that there's no harder position in football than playing. Playing I found it really difficult. It was a mental battle, it was a physical battle, and a lot of senior coaches came up to me after that and said, you haven't coached for long enough. And 7 years later, there's no doubt coaching's harder than playing. So,
wow.
Coaching's it's all encompassing. I mean, you can switch off a little bit as a player, but as a coach, you almost never do.
That's interesting you say that you found playing hard. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a big admission in terms of, you know, that Superman mentality you have to do when you play. But you say it was hard and it was taxing mentally and physically. Do you think that's given you great empathy as a coach?
And Scotty had to play and some of the greatest midfielders, the best players week in, week out, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. It was just it was much as a mental battle as a physical battle, and I had a lot of injuries as well. So I found it really difficult. And when you're always trying to extract the maximum out of yourself, it's never easy. You know, it's like we used to talk about our 2K time trials, and the good runners, people would think they just do it easy. But the fact is that when you're pushing yourself to your absolute limit, it's never easy. No matter how good you get at it, when you're always trying to get better, it's always hard. So there's no doubt that I have empathy for what our players go through, because I'll never forget how hard it was. And a lot of people think footballers have got it easy these days, but nothing could be further from the truth.
Hey, I got a question.
Oh, no.
Well, here we go.
Hey, mate, Dino.
Hey, Dino.
Do you hate getting filmed during the game in the coach's box, and do you edit yourself because of it?
No, I'd try to... some advice from Mick Moldhouse is just, it's your workplace, just go about your business, and how the broadcasters cut it up's up to them. So we make a fool of ourselves every now and then, or probably pretty regularly. But no, I just pretend as if it's not there.
Do you have someone in the box, Scotty, just going, calm down, Scotty, or just giving you a pat on the back when you start to get fired up?
No, I'd prefer that if they filmed the whole thing, because if you actually watch the whole thing, it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah.
But the edits you see on TV are just about the only time it gets animated. It's actually pretty quiet and calm in there. And as I said before, I've got real empathy for the players, so I'm very rarely getting animated towards the players. It's usually the staff who aren't coordinating as I'd like them to at certain times.
It's funny. There's just a couple of quick ones there. Now, one is, of course, this week your club is celebrating the career of Michael Ferrito, Spud.
Yes, Spud.
What a great servant of your club, and of course finished up at the end of last year. You finished him up, but that's fine. But you're celebrating a great career, Brad.
Yeah, it's an awesome career, 275 games, and if you add up all the pre-season games and the international rules games, Spud finished on 299 games, which leaves
299 games for Ferrito. Yes! A new song.
There you go, new song, mate.
But that leaves him one short of AFL Life membership. So,
the free lunch will be spewing.
Rubbed a bit of salt into the wood.
Grand final day, you get the free lunch, Swanee. You get to go to this big lunch and
drink. Grand final tickets for the rest of your life, and I left him one short. So,
what an asshole! That's not fair.
But luckily, he took it really well, Spud. Well, sort of.
Yes. Oh, geez,
but the least we can do is have a bit of a tribute match for him.
That's unbelievable. You've just been called an arsehole by Chrissie Swan. That doesn't happen on SEN or Thread, have you? But hey, the last one too is, as a coach, as a senior coach, are you aware or put your players through this thing called schnitzeling? Have you heard about it? Does your club subscribe to it?
If they do, I don't know about it.
Okay, so schnitzeling is when the someone who comes late to recovery.
It's a form of punishment down at that recovery session down the beach.
Dip yourself in the water and then roll up the sand until you're completely covered.
Right.
Like a schnitzel.
That's why I don't go to recovery sessions, I suppose.
Good man. man.
Coach, you don't have to turn up.
Good man.
I got retarded once, but we won't go into that.